Welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson. Jordan and I are out here in Fenton, one of the last ice fishing days of the season probably. It's getting pretty warm out. We had a blast today, crappie fishing like you wouldn't believe. Make sure you stay tuned for that, and Jimmy's got some other fun stuff for us this week too.
Well, that's right, Jenny. We do have a few more things on this week's show, and we are excited for that ice fishing story that you're going to be bringing us. After that, we're going to switch gears and talk a little turkey. It's hard to believe that we're only a few short weeks away from the turkey season, and recently some of our DNR staff was actually doing some turkey relocation, taking some birds from southern Michigan and some overpopulated areas and transplanting those birds into northern Michigan on state land. You're going to want to see that story. And then our friends over at MUCC, speaking of the DNR, actually sat down with the new DNR director to get some of his views and thoughts on some of the new proposed changes to our license system. Lots of good stuff on this week's show, so you stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's the love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By Meijer, a destination for hunting, fishing, and camping. From bug spray and tents to GPS and gas, Meijer has nearly everything you need to take on nature and get you there. Meijer. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore with its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses. Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. By Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53 just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen.
A couple of weeks ago, Jordan and I got to spend an afternoon on the ice here in Livingston County. After many failed attempts at finding some fish to cooperate with the cameras this winter, today's trip sounded pretty promising. So after a quick game of rock, paper, scissors, Jordan grabbed the camera, I grabbed my fishing gear, and we hit the ice with Ray Edwards, Rob Taylor, Steve Bowen, and Don Ollie to see what we could do. Oh my goodness, I think we picked the best day to go ice fishing. We're out here in Fenton on Lake Shannon with my good friend Ray Edwards. It's a private lake that Ray lives on, and he says, which we can only believe half of what Ray ever says, but he said the crappies are on fire right now and he's been catching piles of them. So we came out here with a couple of buddies and just having a day of fishing in the sun out here before the ice all goes away. So we'll see how it goes. Ray says the name of the game out here is drilling lots of holes and using electronics to stay on the fish. He's found that these crappies are staying in this little corner of the lake but still moving in a school. So if his Vexlar doesn't show fish in a hole, he'll move on to the next one until he sees fish on the graph, and only then will he drop a line in. Even with this mobile kind of fishing, it didn't take much patience to find success today.
This is going to be ugly. But, like, that's all fish right there. So as soon as you see this in one of your holes, you get a flat red line, then you know they're not fish. This is all fish. Yeah, I found these fish a couple weeks ago. They're staging right here, getting ready to spawn, and there's just a pile of crappie in here right now, and that's what we're targeting is crappie right here. So the other day when we were out here, we all limited out. So I'm sure we'll catch a lot. I mean, they're just chasing this bait. 3, 4, 5 foot off the bottom coming up. So just using the electronics and getting them to go.
Well, I have to admit, Ray was right about the fishing out here. Things turned on right away. The bite was on with no end in sight.
Oh yeah, that's a better one.
There's a nice one. got it. I didn't even get it down there. They've really gone downhill, haven't they? Foot under the ice. 1 foot under the ice. Oh, there's a good go.
Working up a sweat, it's so warm out.
Whoops.
What do we got here?
We got another fish. Fish on.
So it would appear that you're kind of like the fish master of the group then.
It's like my first time. Oh.
If we can just get Jenny to catch one, we've got a net for her fish.
Hey! Right! The drought is over. That's a nice fish, right? Okay, it was worth it. Cool. This is a lot of fun. Jordan was just saying, Jordan's running the camera. He's just saying that in the last 10 minutes, we've caught more fish today than we have on any of the other ice fishing stories we've tried this year. It seems Jimmy, Jordan, and I have all just been kind of getting skunked a little bit out there. We were trying to bring ice fishing stories, but today it actually all worked out, and Mother Nature's cooperating. It's a beautiful sunny day, not a hint of wind out here, and we're having a blast.
Well, that didn't take long.
Swam right in, right 2 feet under the ice and grabbed her.
Ray's fiancée, Carolyn Fisher, joined us once she finished working for the day, and she had her Vexilar dialed in. Rob says once you get the hang of using electronics, they can help increase your fishing success.
Well, I've been fishing with one of these for like 20 years now, and you just keep it on a low setting, and typically it'll pick up your jig as it drops, and you'll just see a bigger mark from what your jig is just come in and swim and stop right by it. And if you don't see your line twitch or your bobber twitch, then you just kind of move it up and down in front of them and entice them to bite. And as soon as your line stops, your bobber moves, and just let them take the bait and set the hook, and should be golden.
What do you think of all this, Carolyn?
Oh, this is a riot. Just a riot. It's my favorite thing to do anymore.
Yeah?
Yep.
What do you like about ice fishing?
Well, when you're catching them this fast, it's just, you don't think of anything else but catching the next one. So it's just fun dropping and catching.
Cool.
We do a lot of fishing. When we first met, he said to me, I fish every day. And I said, cool, I can go in the boat and read my book and watch you. So we did that. I never picked up my book. He put a rod in my hand, and I've been fishing ever since. But he's very patient, and he only took my fish off my line a couple of times, and he says, you're on your own now, Fisher, so figure it out. So I've had to learn to bait and hook, and I don't know all the terms of everything, but I just catch them.
There are just a ton of fish in here, huh?
Yeah, they're all staged here right now. There's just around this corner, there's a canal that they spawn in. And I found these fish a few weeks ago in here. And they are just staged in here big time, feeding, getting ready for the spawn. So it's absolutely incredible how many fish are in here right now. Not bad, huh, fellas?
That's cool. Look at that. Nice. Those are some good slabs of meat.
Now you're doing it without a Vexilar or anything. You're just old school and you're catching more fish than everybody.
Right, I'm not smart enough to know that you need all that stuff. I just do what they tell me.
Well, it seems to be working out for you.
Yeah, it's fun too.
Steve was right. We were all having a blast out here. And even though Jordan was running the camera, he managed to have some fun too. He was playing around with the new GoPro camera and getting some pretty cool underwater shots down below the ice. This darker colored water made it a little challenging for the camera's visibility, but Jordan was getting some great close-up shots under the ice, a perspective we don't usually get to see. He was in the perfect position to capture Don's big fish of the day coming up through the ice too. So while Jordan was running the GoPro, I picked up the big camera to grab a little footage, and before I knew it, the tables had somehow turned.
You're like, Vexilar.
Jordan.
Fish right there. Oh, hey,
Sorry. Been running the camera for a couple hours this afternoon, and not even a couple hours, an hour. The fishing has been unbelievable. I've never filmed or been fishing myself and it's been this good. After about an hour, and I think we're up to 70 fish, I just couldn't stand it. I had to jump in a hole, and unfortunately for Jenny, that just happened to be hers. Unbelievable. That's awesome. Get your bait ready.
Throw that one back.
Should you pick out the smallest one?
This is on the extremely small size of what we've been catching today, but this is unreal. They're just flying up off the bottom to come get it.
Jake.
That's it, huh?
Well, we started out using some minnows and some waxworms and some different things, and the fish bite has been so good that we've switched to just this little grub.
I can't see my dang thing.
Whoa!
This is unbelievable. We've caught so many of this size fish and even a couple nicer. I mean, in literally less than an hour. This is just, it's unbelievable.
Are you in heaven?
Oh man, I'm just glad I'm not behind the camera anymore.
Well, I had to take it away from you because you were getting drool all over it. It was about to shut down from water damage. Well, part of a good day of fishing is being able to have a few laughs, and we definitely had plenty of time for joking around out here. After just a couple of hours on the ice, we had a decent pile of fish going. Among the 7 of us out here, we ended up with 111 crappies. And as with any good fish story, we'd need a picture to back it up. And my friends know that any picture I'm involved in is probably going to take on the shape of a human pyramid. This was a perfect opportunity to grab one more for the collection. After the photos, we headed back to Ray's house where the guys made quick work of cleaning all those fish. We had plenty for a good fish fry and some extra fillets for everyone to take home a few for the freezer. We did leave plenty of fish in the lake for the upcoming spawning season and of course next year's catch right here in Michigan's Out of Doors.
Well, it's hard to believe we're just a few short weeks away from the start of the early turkey season, and no matter where you hunt here in the state of Michigan, at one point or another, you probably wish there was a few more birds where you hunt. Well, for a few lucky hunters, that is going to be the case. In this next story, we're going to show you what the DNR is doing to take some birds in some overpopulated areas, putting them on some state land in northern Michigan. Just a week or so back, some local turkeys were in for a bit of a sightseeing trip of our great state. Between Grand Rapids and Lansing, some birds were identified as potentials for a turkey relocation. Once the birds had been baited and the rocket cannon loaded, the DNR waited for the right day. I asked Katie Keene, one of the folks involved in this process, to tell us what was going on here today.
Today we're relocating turkeys from southern Michigan, areas where we have good populations of birds, and we're moving them to northern areas where we found pockets of low numbers. Last 10 years we've been seeing some decline in real specific areas for bird numbers. This morning we rocket netted 15 turkeys, actually a couple more than that, a couple got loose on us. So we have 14 hens and 1 jake. So the goal is we'll have some babies come spring up in this area.
So the birds in the winter, they use a lot of their fat in their breast and other places that they hold the fat. And so if they come down out of the winter too skinny, then they don't have a lot of fat to put into the egg. And so the eggs might not hatch or things like that, or the birds might be weak that hatch out of those. We don't know for sure why they're having poor nest success, but all of those things could be possible. So we're going to try to supplement those populations and give them a new batch of birds that have lots of fat, because our birds down here have been eating well. These birds here that we're taking up north have been having free food on the corn pile for 2 weeks, so they have a lot of fat. So they should have a lot of fat to go into those eggs, and hopefully all their chicks will hatch.
These birds were going to be relocated to some state land near the Baldwin area. I asked Katie just how they decide where to put the captured birds.
We find those areas where we are missing populations that had been there in the past, areas that are going to have good habitat come spring, roosting areas, areas where they're not going to cause a problem, and the best places for guys to be able to target come spring.
This part of the state does have a lot of state and federal land, and lots of opportunities for hunters. Volunteers from the NWTF and the Michigan Wild Turkey Hunters Association were on hand today to help out, and they think this is a great area to relocate the birds.
I think we've always said there's about 50%. Now, and I'm not saying just state, neither. There's a lot of federal land too, okay. So a lot of public land, you know. Okay. So, and that's what makes it nice. I mean, I was a kid here, raised up in Baldwin, and we could never afford property, and never had to. I mean, we had half of Lake County to ram around in, you know. So.
And the turkey numbers are down, you think, up in this area?
Yes, they are. We got plenty of room. We just need more birds.
Yeah, I think the best year our turkey club had feeding is we'd fed like 13,000 birds. This year we're just a little over 2,000. You know, and maybe they're not all getting reported to us, but a lot of them are, and so at that rate the numbers are down.
After the birds had arrived and some of the local press, we all caravanned out to the spot to release the birds. As we traveled, I had Katie explain why this time of year is picked to do this kind of work.
From what we found, the reason we do it this time of year is we want to make sure snowpack's not too high in the areas, and they're doing just fine in areas where we've done this before. This is how wild turkey populations have come about in northern Michigan, is from this type of practice. This is your hunting dollars at work. You might buy a spring turkey hunting license, and this is one way that we're helping turkey numbers, great hunting opportunity, good success. That's one of the important things we look at, is hunter satisfaction, just as much as whether or not you got a bird, as if it was a satisfying hunt. Did you see birds?
We had a few of the local COs on hand today as well to release a few of the birds. And you know, it's pretty neat to see sportsmen, DNR, and law enforcement all working together.
Hi. I got a good shot of them.
Okay, ready? Set, go.
I had been in contact with the DNR for several weeks to make this shoot happen. You would think that you could just net birds just about any day you would like, but that is not the case. Weather and time of day all factor in. The DNR doesn't like to keep the birds overnight if at all possible. So if the birds aren't in the location early enough in the day, the entire process is delayed. And you might think, well, what difference could a handful of birds really make? Well, this is one of the same spots that birds were first reintroduced to the state. And just look how good those handful of birds have done up through today. Thanks to all the hardworking folks that made this event happen, the turkey season in Michigan has become the favorite for many outdoor enthusiasts. And if for some reason you have yet to match wits with a big gobbler on a spring morning, well, because of what happened here today, you should still have plenty of chances to try here in Michigan's Out of Doors. Well, in our next story, our friends over at MUCC recently sat down with the new DNR director to ask him a few questions about the new proposed license packages.
Well, there's a couple things about the new license restructuring system that's out there. One is, of course, the system's pretty complicated, and we have 227 different types of licenses. And if we can simplify it for our users, I think that's a good thing. And so we've collapsed it down to 31. It was in the governor's budget proposal. We're working with the legislature, see if 31's the right number or not. But it really is, how can we make the investment? How can we make it simpler? And how can we actually allow people to go out and enjoy the resource? Well, we always have somewhat of a fun balance, and it's one thing, as your listeners know, our fees come in a couple different ways. One is, of course, through the sales of licenses. Others are both Dingle, Johnson, Pittman, Robertson type fees. So if we're out and people are worried about guns and gun control and ammunition, we tend to get an influx of money. So we do maintain fund balances. But by and large, what this is really about is the investment and then return on the investment. So the restructuring packet will generate approximately $18 million. We've met with our stakeholders, and according to our strategic plans, our stakeholders have said a couple different things. They'd like to see a few more COs. They'd like to do more habitat work. They'd like to make sure we're paying attention to hatcheries. They'd like to make sure we're paying attention to early successional forests for upland birds. So there's a number of things we can do directly with that increased investment in the department. And so the revenue that we have in place gets you the program you have in place. And the real question to our stakeholders is, what type of program do you want? We'll spend the revenue according to our strategic planning process, which was an open and involved process with our stakeholders. And so, for instance, as I said, our stakeholders said our COs were down about a third since 2002. We need to see more COs in the woods. And that provides both a safe experience and a legal experience. Our stakeholders also said, relative to fisheries, we need to do more creel surveys. We need to pay attention. We need to have waders in the water. So we got, as you know, we were named the #1 fly fishing destination state in the country. We have world-class fisheries. We got to make sure we're paying attention to those. Our stakeholders said, you need to have a more robust partnership with MEDC to promote hunting and fishing to make sure we have long-term legacy programs. This allows us to do that. allow us to do attraction and retention, allow us to do education, allow us to actually have service centers out there so that when you want to check your deer, I don't say I'm open to the public from 8 to 9 Monday mornings. And you know, with EHD and people want wildlife biologists, that's important. It allows us to improve habitat on state land. And so as we bring that resource closer to our stakeholders, we'll need to pay attention to that. Well, the COs really are the law enforcement backbone in rural areas. About every other week, I get a letter from some citizen of this state that says, thank you for a CO, they saved my life. They were there when there was an accident, they helped find my lost child, they helped when the boat capsized. And so really COs are fundamentally, they do more than enforce fish and game laws. They actually are that first responder in rural communities. And I have 3 counties with no COs. That's not acceptable. And so if we can build that backbone across this state, it'll help protect the resource, assure it's there for long term, and also help with that safe experience in the woods. Well, I certainly hope we have a new user interface. I tell staff here, when I bought my license, it took 20 minutes. That's unacceptable. There's 5 people behind me in line. That vendor, that retailer lost sales. So we need to make it, if you can reduce the numbers from 227 to 31, that speeds the process up, number 1. Number 2 is our backbone was built on 1995 technology. I don't know about your phone, but my phone has changed. And so there ought to be that interactive experience now. So it's real-time data, so we can actually know what licenses you have, then sell you the appropriate license, and then also have that relationship with you as a user as people are wanting to be more informed about the resource. You know, as you go out and you many of your listeners have used My Hunt. You know, if you're out grouse hunting, and I happened to come up to a spot that had great aspen and bear hunters were there, and so I left the woods. I was able to, through mobile technology, find out where the next A3 area was for appropriate aspen age class. Went out and shot grouse. So that interaction between us, the users, and the vendors, that's a great thing. Our computer systems right now are slow. Depending on where you are, it's either dial-up technology or it's internet T1 type high-speed capabilities. We'll be able to upgrade our dealers. There'll be some additional money in that package for them so they can upgrade. And so it really should allow us to interact more fully with them, and then they should be able to interact more fully with our stakeholders. We need to continue to build trust and credibility with the stakeholders, and we do that through strategic planning. We do that through the Natural Resources Commission. We do that through the appropriation process. We do that through our citizens advisory committees, and so it is a transparent process. So what we did this time is we actually put out a document, said this is an outcomes-based document. People don't really care if the habitat's improved, if I improve it, DNR, or you improve it as a stakeholder, as long as we improve the habitat. So the way we fashion this license package is there's a 5-year sunset and review of the fees. And if we're not successful in 5 years, I think that the stakeholders will take us to task and hold us accountable, and they should. The only other thing I'd say to people who hunt and fish across this state, we have world-class assets. We got the largest freshwater fish portfolio in the world. You know, there was the muskie, state record muskie that was just caught out of Lake Bel Air. That was a world record muskie. That was a world record muskie. And so as we continue to enjoy the natural resources in the state, it will be fundamental to us reinventing and making sure we have youth and employment and that we actually build Michigan around natural resources.
Well, special thanks to the DNR Director and to our friends over at MUCC for giving us a lot of information on those proposed license changes. We'll have a lot more information on those changes as the spring and summer kind of unfold and see how this all flushes out. But hopefully, whatever happens, we'll have a system that'll be easier to use and make it easier for people to get out into the woods and onto the water and enjoying our great natural resources here in the state of Michigan. Now, if you're looking for something fun to do this weekend, this is the Ultimate Sports Show down in Grand Rapids. If you'd like to stop on down, we're going to be there most of the weekend. Say hello if you get a chance. And also our friends at the Southeast Michigan Bowhunters Chapter of Safari Club International, they're having their big banquet this weekend. So on Saturday night, the 23rd, Jenny's going to be there in full swing. It's a lot of fun, and I do believe they have some tickets left. If you'd like some more information, you can check out their website. There's lots of good stuff happening this time of the year in the state of Michigan. There's still a little bit of ice fishing to be had. There's some good spring fishing that's starting to go. Turkey season is just a few short weeks away. It is a great time to be a sportsman here in the state of Michigan. Thanks so much for joining us this week, and hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Zimmer Roofing and Construction in Port Huron, featuring Duralast roofing systems made in Michigan. Zimmer Roofing and Construction provides installation, maintenance, service, and repair. serving commercial and residential clients on the web at zimmerroofing.com. By Showspan, producing consumer shows that include the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids. Over 350 exhibitors, outdoor gear, boats, seminars, Lake Ultimate, and Big Buck Night. The Ultimate Sports Show at the DeVos Place in Grand Rapids. By Propane, exceptional energy. Propane retailers promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas energy in homes, farms, and businesses across our great state. Learn more at usemichiganpropane.com. By Meijer, a destination for hunting, fishing, and camping. From bug spray and tents to GPS and gas, Meijer has nearly everything you need to take on nature and get you there. Meijer. Closed captioning is brought to you by Propane, exceptional energy. Propane retailers promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas to outdoor enthusiasts across our great state.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, East to Monroe, to St. Marie and back again. I am a Michigan man.